Alright everyone, we have to talk about the Texas shooting, of course, because opinions are like assholes. Everyone has one, and naturally, everybody who is really like bitter and they're kind of a hack, immediately, within a couple of hours this friggin' shooting, I got 5 or 6 different variants of what the supposed motive was. As far as I know, until this morning, we didn't really know quite that much about this dude's situation. Now, his name is Devin Kelley, Devin Patrick Kelley. What we do know is he's an Air Force veteran. He was court-martialed, actually, for spousal abuse. So he's not necessarily a nice character, has some derangement issues. So I guess Abbott and Trump at least are correct on that. And that's basically, other than that, and the fact that an inordinate number of people were killed and injured, we don't know that much else about his motive. Now, I think some people were saying that they had breaking news that they now know his presumed motive. Again, though, I have no way of knowing that's true, but here's what I did take away from the situation. Every political page, every fucking pundit, every analyst, even a lot of members of the alt media, immediately jumped down the throat of this issue. Just like before with Las Vegas and every other fucking thing. To give their flawed and biased account of what they thought was the motive. So I had one person saying, well, he was an Antifa member. Here's a picture of him in black with like a fucking face covering. He's obviously Antifa. Another person was like, oh, well, he was obviously that he shot up a church, therefore he must have been like a militant atheist or something. Some people were like, oh, well, he converted to Islam recently. Some people said, well, he must be violent alt-left trying to start a civil war, like he, the November 4th came a couple days late. Others like he's far right, and he's trying to start an anti-government civil war. So I heard all of these different variants of what supposedly his motive was. Not one of these people apparently could prove that they were actually correct, but they were all giving those opinions. I go on Twitter, and I see people left, right, and center speculating on what the motive is supposedly. And just like before, blood's not dry, bodies are not yet cold, the injured, a lot of them still, you can't account for whether they're going to be alive in 24 hours. And everybody's trying to weigh in and use it to push their political or social agenda. I just think that's sad. I'm sorry, I don't feel comfortable doing that. There's a reason why I stopped after a while. If something like this happens like at night, I just wait till the next day to talk about it. So that I know at least the bare necessities of what the hell I'm talking about. And if it's still not clear, you have a shooting, it's still not clear what the motive was, or it's not clear who done it, or something else is unclear, I'm not going to sit there speculating. All we know is that he was apparently deranged, he was apparently a violent individual, and he's apparently the one. We also know that a citizen with a shotgun managed to drive him off, probably saving significant numbers of people. Apparently nobody in the congregation was armed and could fight back, not that necessarily that would have been a great help. If you're in the crowd being shot at, maybe a little more difficult to respond than if you're, like in this case, a bystander with a shotgun. I'm not sure whether he, the dude who actually fired on him, was the one that ended up killing him. Because I know he's dead now. Apparently died of injuries. It wasn't immediately clear whether it was self-inflicted or not. Some people were saying suicide, others saying, oh, he succumbed. This other dude shot him. And he tried to flee and then died of his injuries later. Or the police shot him or something. No, it wasn't clear. Nothing was clear, and yet everybody was trying to put together a full account of what fucking happened. And then you've got every pundit's coming out saying, oh, we need gun control. Oh, he must have been racist. Oh, he was far left. Oh, he was far right. Well, all of these things can't be true. I'm getting so many different accounts of his supposed motive. I'm being told he's far left and far right. He's a gun nut and he's like Antifa, like anti-gun far leftist. I'm being told he's an atheist and a Muslim. I'm being told all of these things, and nobody's actually offering me any evidence that any of it's true. Then we had CNN. This was the most surreal. Most of you probably know this because, a lot of you are from 4chan or other parts of the underbelly of the internet, so-called. At least CNN tells me this. Apparently, originally, they reported that it was Sam Hyde who actually was responsible for it. They actually got rope-a-doped into saying that live on air. they're probably going to get sued, and they probably should. The legacy media needs to be held accountable when it makes such mistakes or when it lies about people. It's about time that people start pooling money together to have a nice little legal fund set up for victims of CNN and similar legacy media fake news orders. It's about time we took them down in a legal sense, since it's obvious that otherwise we have to suffer for decades as they go into slow decline simply because their audience starts dying off. Well, why wait? Why don't we just vampirize them of their money in the meantime? Hammer them as hard as possible and just shove them out of the way. I think collectively we probably have the capability to do so, considering that we're the majority of the world's population. But yeah, I'm surprised that I didn't hear on one of these broadcasts, oh, well, Russian agent Devin Kelley decided to kill a bunch of people for Vladimir Putin to distract people from Trump being a failure of a president for a day or two. I'm surprised I didn't hear that. I'm surprised I didn't hear people say, oh, he must have, like, probably under his coat he's covered in hammer and sickle tattoos. Get over yourselves. Don't bother analyzing something and speculating 90% of the time. You sound like CNN. You sound like Rachel Maddow or Colbert or any of these other morons that really don't know what they're doing. They don't know what they're talking about and rely upon a script to tell them what to say. And they rely on a teleprompter to tell them even what they're supposed to lie about. Don't be like them. Otherwise, what's the fucking point of being in the alt media, but, analyzing politics, current events, society, whatever, what's the point? You sound the same. It's just propaganda and bias. It's okay to be biased, but if you're going to speculate at all, don't put it out there like it's an objective fact. Like, I'm seeing people that generally I respect. They're like, oh, he's probably far left. Ooh, another violent Democrat. Oh, he must be far right. Another evil racist T-Billy KK Republican. Oh, you don't know that. You don't know anything about him. He's a veteran and he shot up a church. And that he got driven off by someone else who commendably apparently was a good enough shot. He may have killed the dude. That's good. Well, it probably saved a lot of people. And so sit there, mourn the dead, congratulate the private citizen that drove him off, and leave it at that until you're sure what the motive was. You're not. Do you know him personally? No? Then you don't know what the hell you're talking about. I get tired of the sensationalism. The sensationalism is what crippled the legacy media. They got addicted to the crack of clickbait, to the point at which they have to sensationalize anything that happens. They have to blow it all out of proportion and sit there speculating for hours and hours before they even know the facts. That's what's killing them. People are tired of that. So they go online so that they can see people who are more sane, that'll be more journalistically responsible, those of us who have some degree of ethics, because you're not going to get that on CNN or Fox. You're not going to get it on fucking Sputnik and RT. You're not going to get it from Al Jazeera and BBC or any of these other morons. They are propagandists. That's not news. It's opinion, bias, spin, and propaganda. That's all it is. Don't be like them. We can be better than that. We know that a bunch of people are dead. And instead of saying, well, that's a tragedy, they're not even saying, well, I'm sad, it's kind of tragic. They're not even mentioning it. They don't even bother anymore to pretend that they're upset. No, it seems like they get some sort of palpable joy out of being able to immediately, the blog post goes up, the tweet is made, everything else under the sun immediately out there in the 24-hour news cycle because of social media. And this is really the one weakness of the alt media, is that people tend to do this. They shoot from the hip, hoping that their expectation of the explanation of events turns out to be true so that they're seen as prophetic. That's a little bit of a problem, because then every possible formulation of what the motive could be is immediately put out there for public consumption. Nobody knows what's true, though. At the time, no evidence of any motive was possible to ascertain. And yet every possible motive was put out there in a speculative fashion, as though it was somehow evidenced. Some picture of him, some random detail in the background of some picture was extrapolated as evidence he was far left, far right. He was an angry gay man, an atheist, a Muslim. He was an anti-government right-winger trying to start a civil war. He's like a militiaman or something. You don't know any of that. Now, any of these stories could end up being totally true, but it'll just be by coincidence that it's discovered to be so. None of the people spewing these opinions out actually know what they're talking about. I'm not going to sit here and pretend that I know what the motive was. And I will find it funny as well. And this is primarily the fault of the far left, like the being liberals and salons. Their immediate reaction, as usual, they default to gun control. Well, it was an AR-15, ho ho ho, military assault baby killer. Well, no, it's not. You're completely wrong. By the way, every time you raise the specter of gun control, it becomes less popular because it gives your ideological opponents the ability to come out and completely lay waste to your stupid arguments. Because nothing you say is sensible. You are inarguably wrong on the mechanics of sporting rifles. You are inarguably wrong on most of the terminology. You don't understand crime statistics, and you, pardon the pun, shoot yourself in the foot by even bothering to talk about it. You would be ideologically better off saying evil white male, oh, we need to do something about this, and some of you are. But you're wasting your time bothering to say, we need more gun control. It's not going to happen. I'm sorry, you've already lost the debate. Some of the more wise far leftists have already basically given up, which, by the way, is good. It'll keep our country safer long term. You may not like that fact, just is. It's objective. If you don't like it, if you feel so uncomfortable, be in an anti-gun part of the country where people, have to go through 10 regulatory hurdles to get a pea shooter. There, you go to Chicago, or so you'll feel nice and safe in Chicago. Go to Detroit. Go be in a big city somewhere in a heavy blue state. Go to New York. You'll feel real safe, I promise you. When somebody breaks down your door with a baseball bat to rob you, you'll feel safer knowing that you can't shoot any of them. That's about all. Peace out.